Folks, the market has completely changed. I'll explain what I'm talking about and then get into the latest home prices and insights for the Peel and Durham region for week ending June 11th, 2025. If you feel this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. And if you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. Below this video, in the description part, there's a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a date and time that suits you. You'll speak directly with me and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. So in the second part of this video, I'm going to bring up the data. If you are a regular watcher of this channel, you know that's what I do. I speak about something in the first part, and then the second part, it's all data. Now the data in this video is for all of Mississauga, and then all of Brampton, and then Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby as one area. That's in this video. But I do this in multiple days of the week for multiple parts of the GTA. But the data is a summary of, I'll use Mississauga as an example. The data is a summary of all of Mississauga or all of Brampton. So it may not be specific to you and your neighborhood, but it does summarize and give a fairly good idea of generally what's happening in the market. But being an active realtor, I also combine the data. My explanation combines my actual personal experience as being a realtor. So I combine my experience with the data. And that's what I want to share with you now. We have sold properties in the first part of the year, the first quarter, in multiple parts of the GTA. And I can tell you, when we go back, and we often do this, when we look at what we've sold in the first quarter, and we look at what's happening now, it's almost, in many cases, a world of difference between what the experience was in the first part of the year versus where we are today. In every case, prices are lower. You know, quickly, what comes to mind, there's this one property that we sold. We struggled selling that property. Eventually, we sold it. This is the first quarter of the year. And when I look at that same neighborhood, the one or two streets around the home that we sold, there's more properties for sale there now than when we sold. There are superior properties to the one we sold listed for less than what we sold for. That example is multiplied by just about every home we sold in every area that we sold in the first part of the year. We see this example everywhere. I recently received a call from a seller who was on the market competing with our listing when we sold at the beginning of the year. He recently called me. His property had expired, and I sat with him talking up because he still wants to sell. I sat with him speaking about where the market's at, pricing, and his attitude was he should be getting more than what we sold for because he's got a superior home to ours. And it's true. He did have a superior home. It is superior. There's no question. His attitude was he should be getting more. And then his attitude was, at the very least, he should get the same. But that's not where the market is. Because we can see also now who he's competing with, and we can see the sales since we've sold. He's going to get less for his home. And this is the reality that I'm trying to share with him. And this is what I'm speaking with you about now. If you are a seller and you're on the market right now, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're thinking of coming onto the market, you really should know the reality of the situation, and you should know what to expect. Knowing the reality and what to expect can better prepare you. Now, let's get into the numbers. Folks, at the end of this show, on the screen, there'll be a link to a bungalow on half-acre lot Have a look. It's northwest of Brampton. Have a look. Okay, so on today's show, we're focused on detached properties only for Mississauga, Brampton, and Durham region. For Durham, I'm using Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby as my Durham sample. And Brampton and Durham, pretty much very similar when it comes to average sold prices. I have 3 months on the board here. Mississauga is almost always much higher than Brampton and Durham. And in this case, when we kind of look at Brampton and Durham average prices versus Mississauga, there's a $342,000 average price difference. That's a big difference. So for somebody leaving Brampton and Durham and wanting to live in Mississauga, basically if they're looking for the same type of home and making, a lateral move, you can just, kind of think about it. It's over a $300,000 price difference. If they're looking to move up to a bigger home, the difference is going to be much higher. We're going to start off with Mississauga. For week ending June 11th, 31 detached properties were sold. 5 of those sold at $2 million or more. If we go back to the beginning of the year, sales were trending up. Then we've had a dip. Then we jumped up. And now for a couple weeks in a row, sales are coming down again. I'm not necessarily telling you that's the trend. That's what we're seeing right now. We know at this time of the year, sales tend to pick up to a certain point, and then they start heading down towards August, and then they pick up again in the fall. And that's what we saw last year, sales trending down, then picking up again in the fall, and then heading down again towards the winter season, towards the end of the year. Have we started the downturn towards August? Maybe is all I'm saying. That's what it's looking like right now. Average sold price or average sold prices seem to be going the other way when we're referring to Mississauga. For a while, since the beginning of the year, predominantly trending down. Now it looks like it's going the other way. For week ending June 11th, average sold price for Mississauga is $1,442,000. 1,442 is 6% lower than the same week a year ago. The median price of 1,372 is 1% higher than the same week a year ago. The dotted line, that's a 4-week moving average. And for average price and median price since mid-April, looks like average and median prices are trending upwards. 31 were sold, 5 of them, 16% sold at list price or more. Listings are way up there. 169 detached properties were listed. There's 968 available for sale. Those are the active listings. So active listings is trending upwards, meaning there's more and more properties available for sale. At the beginning of the year, fewer properties available for sale. You're seeing more now out in the streets. You see a lot more for sale signs out there. And when we look at how many actually sold, well, only 3.2% of the properties available for sale actually sold during week ending June 11th. Months of inventory is shooting way up there. We're now at 7.2 months of inventory. That's for Mississauga. Now, it kind of goes contrary when we typically, as months of inventory increase, and months of inventory really is the relationship between supply and demand. As months of inventory increase, we should be seeing prices trending down. But overall, we're kind of seeing prices trending up slightly. So it's kind of happening contrary to really the rules of supply and demand right now. Here's Brampton. Again, this is just for detached properties. For week ending June 11th, 58 detached properties were sold. One of those sold at $2 million or more. Now, average sales, they're up and down, but overall seem to be trending up. And if we look at last year as an example, You don't see before, what I have here is June 12th. You don't see before that, but sales were trending upwards and then slightly trending down to the end of the summer, at the end of August, and then for the fall they went up again and then trending down. Look, it's the same pattern that I explained for Mississauga. It's the same pattern, sales pattern across the GTA. It's a typical sales pattern. So far we see them sales trending upwards. Average sold price of $1,110,000 for this week ending. Overall, average sold price seems to be trending down in Brampton. Compared to last year, $1,110,000 is 5% lower. The median price of $1,036,000 is 12% lower. 58 sold. 13 of those, so 22%, sold at list price or more. 284 were listed. That's the most amount of listings this year for detached properties in Brampton in 1 week. 284 were listed. There's 1,354 available for sale. Basically, based on the current sales that we have, 4.3% of all properties, all detached properties available for sale in Brampton sold. Only 4.3%. Months of inventory, trending down a bit. We're sitting at 5.4 months of inventory, just the other side of what we'd say is a balanced market. So it's more leaning towards a buyer's market. So, Durham region. Now for Durham, I'm using Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby as my Durham sample. For week ending June 11th, sorry, I couldn't read that. 69 detached properties sold. One of those sold at $2 million or more. Sales since the beginning of the year, overall, not on a weekly basis, but overall, seem to be trending upwards. Average sold price of $1,077,000. When we look overall at average sold price, seems to be trending down. $1,077,000 is 3% lower year over year. $1,062,000 is the median price. That's 1% lower. And if you look at the dotted line, average price and median price overall seems to be trending down slightly. 69 were sold, 24 of those, so 35% sold at list price or more. Listings way up there at 185 new detached properties listed for sale. Normally we see this volume, listings across the GTA seem to be more numerous now than they were in the spring market, which kind of not the way things normally go. Normally, we see the vast majority of new listings early in the spring, and come now as we start heading into summer, listings tend to taper off. That's not what's happening right now. Listings are way up there. 185 were listed. 693 are available for sale, so active listings are still continuing to trend up. But as a percentage of how many are available for sale, 10% of all active listings actually sold for week ending June 11th. And 10%, you may think, well, that's not that much. 10% is one of the highest percentages of anywhere in the GTA. So Durham region, far more active than a lot of parts of the GTA. Months of inventory sitting at 2.3. Just that alone, months of inventory at 2.3 will tell you Durham region is more active than most parts of the GTA. Here's a quick summary. 7.2 for Mississauga, 5.4 months of inventory for Brampton, 2.3 for Ajax, Pickering, and Whitby. You're going to experience all sorts of markets out there. Yes, there's going to be parts and situations where it's a seller's market. Predominantly, you're going to experience a balanced market, but there's also going to be neighborhoods where it's more of a buyer's market. Wish I could be more specific, but that's the reality of Mississauga, Brampton, and Durham region. Now check out this awesome bungalow on half an acre.